Okay, hello everyone. My name is Eric Mazowski, and in this tutorial we're going to be continuing the 101 series by taking a look at animation controllers. They're a little bit different than animation constraints. We're also going to be taking a look at the motion panel in a little bit more detail. Alright, so if we get started, just create a simple sphere in the middle of your scene, and then if we go over to our motion panel, which looks like the little wheel, now within here we have some interesting information. If we expand our assign controller area, you'll see that we have our position, rotation, and scale. Each one of these can have controllers applied to it. So if we select one, click on this little question mark box, you can see a list of all the different controllers that we can assign. Now traditionally we've been using the animation drop-down list, which is where you can get to all the same controllers. And so that's what we'll be using because it's a little bit easier and it handles a couple things for us automatically. But just keep in mind, or just notice right now, that down in the lower right hand side where it says position list, it currently says position XYZ. This basically tells us, or tells Max, that we can freely move it using our move tool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to apply a noise controller to this. So if we go up to animation, position controllers, and then noise. When we do that, you'll notice that in our position list we now have a noise position assigned. Now if we look at the weight channel, which is directly to the right of it, you'll see that both are set to 100%. So if I go and I play this back really quick, you can see it's jittering all over the place. But if I try to move it, I can't. So if I wanted to animate this sphere moving around but still kind of noisy, I can't do it right now. What I have to do is I have to set what the active controller is on the right hand side. You can see which one is active with the little arrow pointing to it. So if we double click on the position XYZ, go to a different point in time, then move our sphere somewhere else, and go to the end and move it somewhere else. Now you can see that it's doing both. Now let's say this is too noisy. What can we do about that? Well, with the noise modifier you actually have two options. One is to switch to the noise position and change its weight. So if we drop this down to say about 30, make sure the auto key is off, you can see it's much less. But say we wanted a little bit more control over it. Fortunately we have this option. So if we scroll back up to where we have our assign controller, within here if we expand our position category, you'll notice we'll see something very similar to what we see down in our position list. We have our position list, our position X, Y, and Z, and then our noise position. If we click on the noise position, right click, and then go to properties, this will bring up a little dialog box which gives you much greater control over the noise. So if we wanted to, we could just limit it so that it only goes in the Z axis. So now when we play back it only bounces up and down. We can also make sure that it always stays above 0, so that if we initially have this set up on, say, a plane, and we know that we never want it to go through the ground or through that plane, we can just set it to be, for the noise to always be greater than 0. We can adjust the seed that's used, or the frequency. Can make it fractal, so a little bit rougher. We can also have ease in and ease out, so we can smooth in and out the noise. And then when we're done, we just close it down, and then we're all set. Okay, so let's take a look at another controller that we can use. Now say we have a controller on here that we no longer want. We have two options in how we can deal with this. One is to select it down here underneath our position list, click on delete, or up underneath assign controller or through the animation section here, we can go to position controllers and just assign an XYZ. And what that will do is it will kind of reset it to the way it's been. And so just for completeness, over here on the right hand side underneath assign controller, we can choose our position, click on the little question mark, and you can see that it's already got one assigned, so we're all set. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to assign an audio controller to the position. Now keep in mind that many of these controllers can be assigned to position, rotation, or scale, whatever you want. Alright, so we have our position, or we have our object selected. We're going up to animation, position controllers, then audio. Again, it drops it in at 100%. And so if we scroll back up to our assign controller section, choose our audio position controller, right click on it and go to properties. Here we can configure it. So we can either use a precompiled sound, so if you have a WAV file or an AVI file, you can use that. You can set up thresholds and dampening and so forth. But one thing that's actually pretty cool about this is you can use real-time input. So like my microphone here that I'm using to record the video tutorial. If I turn that on and I need to set what the high point is and the low point is. The low point I'm going to leave at 0. Now the high point though, I'm going to try setting it to about 100. And we'll see what that actually does for us in terms of size. So if I go ahead and hit play, you can see that the louder I talk, the higher it goes. But the softer I talk, the less it bounces. And let's get rid of these keys really quick so that it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, so you can see that the louder that I talk, the higher the ball bounces. But the softer I talk, it doesn't bounce nearly as much. And so that same principle applies if you use a pre-existing sound. So let's take a look at that really quick. So if we go and we click on choose sound, I have a song here that's been converted over. And we can set all these values. We're just going to leave it as is for now. I'm going to close that down. And I can see that it's just starting to bounce a bit. Now it's a little bit hard to tell what it's actually bouncing to. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how we can actually add audio to our scene. And we're actually going to do that in the next tutorial. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me or post on the forums. Thanks for watching.